Welcome back from our summer break. We are super excited to jump in this fall and share our lineup with you of our amazing upcoming guests. We're super excited to bring you our 91st episode of the Launch Your Farm show. Today I interview Justin Bosak, who is the owner of Remax Revolution in New Jersey. In this episode, Justin and I talk about why it's so important to choose who you spend your time with when you're learning to grow your business. And Justin shares how important it is to focus on building relationships first, then focus on the transaction second if you want to see long-term success. And we talk about what you can do to leverage your passions and interests to get involved in your farm and your community to not only create an impact, but to build relationships that turn into lifelong clients. And Justin shares a super easy way to create value to your farm that doesn't cost a fortune or take a ton of time to accomplish. And we also talk about how you can layer your farming strategies to give you the most value, build market share, and make an impact at the same time. Plus, we talk about a ton of other ideas that you can use to grow your geographic farm. So be sure to check out this episode, like and subscribe, and enjoy the episode with Justin. Welcome back to another episode of the Launch Your Farm show. I'm your host, Ryan Smith, and today we've got a great guest. It's Justin Bosak. He's the owner and operator of Remax Revolution in New Jersey. So Justin, take a second, tell us a bit about yourself and why you're here.
Hey guys, how you doing today? My name is Justin Bosak. I've been in the industry now for 20 years. I own two offices, one in Spring Lake, New Jersey, which just opened, another one in Wall. Did that starting back about 5 years ago as far as the brokerage side of the business. Prior to that, and still concurrently, we're running a team, one of the top teams, number 2 team in the state, and one of the top 100 teams in the country, and still an active realtor out here doing business just like everybody else still.
So you wear a lot of hats and you keep it going. That's the important thing, because I think a lot of people try to do different things and don't do it well. You're doing it all well, which is awesome. And this is kind of what I want to talk to you about today and kind of figure out what you're doing and how you're doing that. And a big part of what you do is geographic farming, really getting involved in the community. But before we do that, let's talk about kind of the history and how you got into the business and what it was like for you at the beginning.
Great. So yeah, going back 20 years ago, I was in management. I had worked for McDonald's, worked my way up to assistant manager at like 18, was making really good money for back then, and went to another company called Aldi's food store management, worked my way up really quickly there as well. Then found I kind of reached my cap on where I can go because I didn't have a 4-year degree and always wanted to get into real estate. I had gone to school for accounting for a little bit and have a business mindset and business background, and my dad thought, hey, you're too young to do that at 18. So once I reached that cap of upper level management, I made the jump, said I'm going to go to school, I'm just going to go for it, and the rest is history.
That's awesome. And you've been doing a lot and you've accomplished a lot in the 20 years and being so young, because I was young. I was 24 when I got started. And I know a lot of people were second guessing me and say, oh, are you sure? Are you too young? And I second guess myself at times. When you did get started, what did that feel like being so young in the business?
So yeah, I had a lot of time to learn. So that was good. And listen, as you're a younger agent in the industry, I think the most important thing is who you surround yourself with. I always wanted to learn and do more. So the company I originated with, I was in the office and just making cold calls originally, making cold calls in some of the toughest areas to do so. Brooklyn, New York, Queens, Manhattan, Long Island, and doing that from New Jersey, setting up and scheduling appointments for listing agents in the office.
Wow.
And from there, just kind of loved the business and wanted to learn more and wanted to become an outside agent. Surrounded myself again with just people that asked a lot of questions, but always made sure that I was helpful also in returning the favor. It wasn't a one-way street. So yeah, I was always wanting to learn more. I would always stay late. I was not the best person on the phones, but I was willing to put in the hours, and I was willing to set the right appointments and set the right expectations and do it the right way. Back then it was, you were, paid off on a point system, which, you could set appointments that aren't so strong, or, if you've got a good working relationship with your people, with your agents, making sure that you're doing the right thing, setting the right appointments, and doing real estate the right way. Learned that early on, was rewarded, by doing the right thing back then with my agents, because then they would return the favor and say, oh, hey, put this appointment in my calendar. and I would get points for it and they'd convert it, so
Nice.
it worked out nicely. And then yeah, it took me about 3 years to become an outside agent, and then from there just continued to learn, from other people. Back then there wasn't podcasts really that were available on real estate, which I think was one of the greatest ways for realtors to jump into the business and learn.
Yeah.
I started listening to podcasts back in 2016, and that really accelerated my business.
That's awesome. And you shifted, and that's where I want to kind of dive into. You kind of put your time in. You were in the trenches doing it, and then you've shifted to really being community focused. And I think that's a big part of what I think real farming should be about. And anyone who's listened to the show or know, and has done any of my training, know that I talk about the CPR, and the community is such a big part of what we should be doing as far as farming. Instead of just sending out mass postcards and just hoping that someone contacts you, that community is such a big important role, and we can leverage it correctly. And I think you've done an incredible job at that. So talk to me about how you shifted from that traditional just cold calling into realizing, hey, community is kind of where I should be putting that focus.
Yeah, so it hit me by accident, and so went through the struggles of the market. My first company actually closed, went out on my own, and just said I'm never going to get fired again. So we're just going to keep moving on, and I'll figure this thing out. And it was 2009, wasn't making a ton of money in the industry, just making enough to kind of hang in there. And my son was 5 years old at that point, and wanted to do T-ball. So I said, all right, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going all in too. And I'm going to coach, and I'm going to be there for the practices and all the games, because I know if I wasn't, I'd have all these different excuses for, why I would show up late or anything like that, because I dealt with mostly buyers at that point in time. And, I would close 40 to 50 deals on average per year with buyers, and they run you ragged.
Yeah.
So I said, that's it. I'm blocking the time out. It is what it is. I'm accountable. And I did it. And, times were tough. Times were really tough. But I learned from that I created different relationships with the parents of the kids and the other coaches on the other teams. And, and it wasn't like I was promoting or advertising at all what I did. It was just through normal conversation and just being a regular human.
Yep.
And them seeing that, hey, or what do? You have those conversations and then go from there. And then I sold a number of people's homes from that, relationship. Obviously, it's local. Which also helps. It's your community. And then it kind of spiraled, I would say, into me just saying yes to multiple different things, just community based, doing some things with my church, being on the building committee, helping them out with different things, then doing some things with the school. Currently, I'm the vice chair for something called the Field of Dreams in Toms River, which is a 4-acre special needs park.
Nice.
And, every step along the way, you just make different relationships, and the time that you put in, you will get something back out of it. I'm donating my time, but I know that when I'm there, I'm efficient, I'm productive. I love problem solving. I think that's why I am good at real estate, because I find it's less of a sales driven business. It's more of a problem solving. If you do it the right way. I mean, people are successful doing it the other way too, but I find that if you want to get repeat clients, problem solving, that's the mode you have to be in.
Exactly. And for those of you who are listening, that you and I had a chat prior to recording this, and we talked about there is a way to put in time where you're doing it to give back and not try to take. And a lot of agents think that they show up going, if I put an hour in here, I should get back X amount of dollars. And you have to come from contribution with that abundance mindset first. And you have to give without expecting to get it back, knowing that you will get it back. And you're a perfect case for that, because you said you put the time in knowing, hey, I'm just going to get back. I'm doing this because it's something you enjoy. It's something you care about. It's the community you serve. And then the relationships happen. So talk to us about that, because I find a lot of agents struggle with that. Hey, I'm putting the time and I'm not getting the results yet. Or if I want to just do this and see the results. So what does that look like for you? Or what did that look like for you when you were getting started?
Yeah, I guess it's being passionate about what you're actually volunteering to do, because then you should not have expectations. You should be fulfilled by what you're actually doing to help out the community, and just leave it at that. But as people see kind of who you are, they learn, this is a great guy, this is a guy that's very helpful, or girl, they could see, wow, I could actually probably trust this person with, the most important investment that I have in my life. And it's just, again, I look at it this way, right? You only have about an hour sometimes on a listing appointment to explain to a seller, about their property. And I try to keep those appointments more about them.
Mhm.
It becomes less about you because you only have an hour. If the conversation goes further, like the other night I was at a house for 3 hours, and we ended up talking about all different things. And that's always great, but you don't always have that opportunity.
Yeah.
But if you have the opportunity to build those relationships doing some other things, that's another way to do it. It doesn't have to be, I just have to book my calendar with as many listing appointments to go in and meet with people at these short periods of times. I think of the other way. You can build long-term relationships and understand that the people that you're actually working with on a volunteer or community basis, you're probably going to get along with them better also.
Yeah.
Because I've had
100%.
clients I've met in a short hour and it's all about business, right? And there may not be a relationship there long term. It might be just about the one transaction.
Yep.
And I'm more about building clients and building multiple transactions. And it's really not by design initially. It's just by nature, kind of how I was. And then being in the business for so long, you just see the referrals come in and the people that, come back and do business with you. And, that one person that bought in 2005, they're going to sell in 2010 and they're going to buy and they're going to refer their mother, father, cousin, sister, brother. And then all of a sudden, that turned into 10 or 12 transactions over the course of 15 years.
Wow.
If you really kind of follow it and funnel it and track it. And those, I feel, those are the most comfortable situations. I know I'm going to close all those deals. All my time is valuable to those people.
Yep.
They were highly referred. This isn't just a buyer off the street where maybe your conversion on them is going to be 40% because there's nothing in common with those person other than, hey, I just show me houses.
Yeah,
When
exactly.
you build those common bonds and just deal with people in different aspects of life, you build relationships, and that's the most important thing in this business.
100%. And that's the CPR that I teach, is that the last key component is the relationship. It's community positioning and relationships. And it's about the relationships. And without the relationships, you're always going to be in that hunting mode and you're always going to be looking for that next deal. And that's just my qualm that when I got started, I was almost 15 years in the business. It was, when I got started, it was go prospect, look for someone who's buying in the next 2 weeks. And I've always said, I'd rather have 2 years to build a relationship with someone than 2 weeks, because if you built the relationship over 2 years, they know you, like you, and trust you. They get to know what you're about. It becomes so much easier. It becomes easier to refer you. And that, to me, just makes more sense than just constantly hunting for that next deal, who now you've got to fight even harder to try to prove who you are and that you're worth. And then it becomes very transactional. So doing it the way you've done it does take time, and it does take effort, and it does take energy to do that. But at the end of the day, you build a much more satisfying business. You build a much more predictable business in the long run, and you're able to create more value for everyone involved. And I think, I'm sure you agree, that that's really what it's about, is if it's creating value for everyone involved.
Absolutely. I mean, some of the things I tell my new agents that are, within the business only a couple of years, and they ask about cold calling and stuff, and I said, I haven't done that in a long time. I have clients that actually, they cold call me to work for them now.
Yes.
And that's the position, and I have to kind of go back and kind of where I started and how you get to that point.
Yep.
And listen, it's without fail. I feel like, oh, things are slow. I can use a couple listings. My phone just rings.
Yeah.
Somebody that was referred, or they saw one of my listings and I liked it, and there's all these different things that I have working, and I still do a farm. And the reason of doing the farm is because I don't have the time to actually sit down and call anymore.
Yep.
And there's different foundations and different layers you have to have in your business, and the community basis, I think, is just, it's one pillar, one portion of your business, but you have to have multiple things working at the same time.
Exactly. And that's I talk about strategy stacking. Again, if anyone's watched or listened to, I talk about the scope method and laying in a number of strategies that work together. So if you're listening, it's self-promotion, community, online, offline, prospecting, and education. In order to get the most from what you're doing, you need to ensure that you're doing all those things. And it's not just one pillar. And this is where I use COVID as a perfect example. Some agents were super focused on one strategy. So they're amazing at door knocking, or they're amazing at open houses. And then COVID comes along and completely wipes out your ability to your business, because you can't go out and door knock. You can't go out and do open houses. And in order to create the most efficient business and the safest business, you have to make sure you've got multiple layers that kind of work together. And this is why I think farming is so valuable, because you can layer them in one location. You can layer them into the same people, so they're consistently seeing you and consistently getting your messages, and it becomes more efficient. And I know that's a big part of what you do and what you teach agents. So can you share some of the strategies and things you talk about or teach your other agents? Because I think it's important for agents to see how you can layer those together.
Yeah, so I think the first thing you want to do is go into your backyard, your home base, so where you have these maybe community ties, do some research, figure out maybe where's an area where there's good turnover, maybe solid turnover. It doesn't have to be the highest price point area. Figure out where's an area where there isn't an agent that dominates that area. Maybe the top agent has 10% market share. You've got to really evaluate your money in, because every farm you go after, you should go into it knowing that this is 2 years, I'm locked in, I'm committing to it, and I'm not going to change. I'm just going to continue to pump the money into it. And again, there's some other things that you have to do on top of just doing the farm to make it effective.
Yep.
But that's how you should look at it. And then you should kind of look at it and say, well, how many transactions happen in that area? How many homes are turning over? And can I get to the point of, can I get to the 10% market share?
Yep.
Do the math. If you can get to the 10% market share and you can see the ROI where you're going to double your money, then I say that's a farm that could work for you. So I started in 2016 doing it, and again in my backyard. Happened to be a high-end area, which is also nice. But then the dynamic of my neighborhood shifted. There was a different, I'd say, culture moving in to that area, and I knew that on the back end of those deals, I was still getting the listings, but the buyers I wasn't going to be able to get in the future. So I got ahead of it, knowing that, hey, that this area is going to be gone in, let's just say, 4 or 5 years. Shifted to a whole different area within the same town. I'm in Toms River, New Jersey. That's where I live. There's an estate section, which is where my first market was. Shifted to a waterfront market.
Okay.
Waterfront market. I don't live in. I don't have a boat. I don't, unfortunately, live that lifestyle other than going to the beach. But that was an area where there wasn't a dominant agent. And me and my business partner figured that out, figured out the price point worked, figured out also, because it was almost a lot of secondary homes in those communities, that those people were less tied to those properties long term. They would turn over quicker.
Yep.
You'd see somebody buy a property and maybe sell it in 4 or 5 years, where in the estate section, those people would buy and stay for 15 to 20 years.
Yeah.
So even though the price point at that point was lower, and we were just coming off of something called Superstorm Sandy, which wiped that area out, and took a lot of the market pricing down. We thought this is an area where we can come in and rebuild this area, and now that area is booming. But that's been years of now marketing and advertising to that area, where it's now become routine, and layering it. So the next thing that we're going to be doing is, we actually aligned with 2 of the other agents in the office, that we said, hey, take these other areas adjacent to us, because we knew the power in just having the brand and the signage be repetitive through those areas. So it's all the open house signs and flags on the weekends, just in all these waterfront areas. So that way, all the buyers, they're not going to get away from the brand, because I couldn't market and advertise to the 3,000 homes. I was willing to just focus on maybe 500 to 800 homes. That went well, went to 1,200 homes. And, we're just collaborating. So now the billboards that are going to go up, we're all going to go on those billboards. But, we could actually cut costs, because now instead of $1,500 just for me, it's $300 just for me. And then, they're also bringing in their budget. And we can now do that billboard longer term. We could do it for a full year versus only doing it for like 3 or 4 months. So it's just really getting creative and looking around you, and whether it's teaming up, so I have some agents in my office that have literally teamed up because they thought, hey, the price to commit for a year or two, I'm not comfortable with it. Teamed up with another agent, and, they attacked it that way, and they're splitting everything 50-50.
That's awesome. And I think going back to what you said too, is that it doesn't have to be the area you live in. And a lot of people approach me all the time and say like, hey, I'm trying to choose a farm. And they always start with the area they live in. And so, some agents will give you that advice and say, hey, pick the area you work in. And I would say that can be a good area and it could be a good farm, but it doesn't mean it's the right farm or the best farm. And what's a right farm for me may not be the right farm for someone else. And what might be a great farm for someone else may not be, or might be a perfect farm for another agent. And it really comes down to budget, time, resources. And I think a big part of it is, like you said, is how much money can you get out of it and how much is that farm worth? And it's something I teach is called the total farm value. And it's really understanding what are the total commissions out of there. And like you said, can I get to that 10%? And how much is it going to cost me to get there? And so many agents look at the luxury listings, and we talked about this before, and they say, oh, I want to go after luxury because there's bigger price points and it's glamorous, and they watch HGTV shows of where it's all these $1 million homes, but then they don't really look into what's the competition, how much does it actually cost to reach those people, because it can be very expensive, it can be a crowded market. So share your advice, because I know we had a good conversation about that.
Right.
When people are thinking, hey, I want to start with luxury because it's appealing.
Yeah, so I've been there, done that. So the luxury market, we did dominate. Again, that market kind of shifted. Again, just culturally, not a big deal. Migration happens and things change. But going through that process and working in the farm that I'm in now, I'm in like a flowered, shirt. This is more tropical, beachy, which is great because I feel it fits more, me and my style and
Yep.
be authentic, myself versus, being in a suit and having to be in a suit during the whole summer and having to drive the BMW. Now I have the Jeep. It's just a whole different mindset. And the luxury market, you are dealing with, and this isn't all the times, but you're dealing with people that don't necessarily look at you as somebody that they're going to do business with long term. It's just transactional. These are more people that are in business and they look at things differently and they want perfection.
Yep.
So you have to be on your A game. This can't be, hey, I just got my license and I'm going to try it out. You'll burn out real quick.
Yep.
And you don't want to go through that mode of possibly getting fired or getting a bad name when you're out there pushing money and spending money in a farm area. That's something that I find maybe that's something that agents should work up to and not go after right away, because you have to have a foundation. In my opinion, and I've told this to many of my agents, if you want to break into that high-end market, like what's your leverage? What's your play? What's different about you compared to the other agents that have been there for 5 years and 10 years and have a track record of success? Because you're going to be going into listing appointments, even if you can get in the door against these people and they have the name recognition.
Yeah.
They've been seen, their signs have been seen, their postcards and mailers have been going out for 10 years and you're just starting out. No, what's different? Are you willing to work for free in order to get a chance to build your track record?
Yeah.
If not, then maybe that's not the territory for you. And listen, if you can break in and you have something different about you, or if maybe you were in finance or something like that, like there's different aspects of where people come from, and I'm talking more about, so like the agents that are younger, you're 25 or 26,
Yep.
dealing with a multi-million-dollar property with somebody that's maybe 40s or 50s, they probably already have established relationships. That's probably not their first house. That's probably their second or third house. Why are they going to use you? What's different? What's unique? And you can have all the tools in the bag, professional marketing, the photos, the video, and this and that. And guess what? At the end of the day, that may not matter. That may not win you the listing. So, there's a specific way, I believe, in how agents need to approach farming. And again, I think it's all data related. It comes down to the numbers. What market can you target where there isn't a dominant agent?
Yep.
There's areas that people sleep on. And one of my agents, I went through this with her 2 years ago. She wanted to do luxury, wanted to do luxury over and over and over again. I said, no, don't, and I don't want to crush your dreams, but I told you years ago, this is where you need to launch it in your backyard because there's nobody dominant. The dominant agent there has nothing on you. You can go there and crush it. She waited 2 years. She finally did it within the first month listing. sold it, double-ended it. First month. And I said, you wasted years trying to chase
Yeah.
the dream, right? And she marketed into these different areas. And I'm like, how are you going to break into this, let's call it $1 million area, when you live in an area where it's a different county, it's at a price point where it's 300. The conversation's going to come up is at some point usually like, oh, where do you live, or what recent sales do you have in this area?
Yeah.
And you have nothing to offer. But when it's your backyard and you know everything about it, and you can just walk into the door and you know everything, and you can have all these different conversations, which I find, and I do this on open houses too, where you're from, where do you work, who do you know?
Yep.
Once you pull all that stuff out, now you're having, oh, I know this person or I know that person. And that's a lot of times what actually gets you to listing is all the different commonalities. I break down those barriers 9 times out of 10 with a buyer or somebody walking through an open house by asking just a few questions. And again, the conversation goes away from real estate.
Yeah.
And it's, I think, more comfortable for people. So how could you do that in an area where it's luxury and you don't know anybody and you never sold a listing and you never did anything, right? You're just promoting me, and this is what I can do. And, it's hypothetical at that point.
And that's what it comes down to. The positioning part of it is learning to position yourself correctly for the market you're serving. And if you're going after luxury, there's a way to position yourself as an expert. If you're going after executive townhomes, and there's a different way, condo buildings, a different positioning, and you have to learn to market to the audience that you're going after. And luxury is one of those things that so many people want and so many people are chasing. And I tell people, agents all the time, it's like, the people that have been doing it have much bigger budgets, have much more experience, have more opportunities to get in front of people. And I never try to push anyone away from doing luxury, but there's, like you said, a lot of opportunity in other markets to get you the exposure, get you the experience, get you income coming in so that you can then turn around and invest it. But it's usually not my first choice to say, hey, try to break into luxury. Now, if you're in an area that's just all luxury, that's your standard real estate. And it's like, okay, that's the reality of it. But I find that if you get started in that market that's just below average price point, I always find it's kind of that sweet spot where you're getting people who are moving up. You're getting people who maybe are moving up from their first buy to a next home. There's room to get deals on either end of it. And like you said, if they're buying a high-end luxury home, they may not be moving for 15, 20 years because it's like they've worked their butt off their whole career to get to this point and it's their trophy home. It's hard to have the turnover and hard to get those deals. And when I was choosing my own farm, we looked at a couple different areas, and there was one where all the homes were high-end executive homes, but there's nothing in between. So it's like they either move there, and if they're moving out of there. So they're only moving to there, and they're moving out. The area we ended up choosing had condos, townhomes, semi-detached, small detached, large detached, and then mansions, and there was everything in between. And we were able to kind of catch people at the different times in their life in the moving process, and it was so much better to get broken into that market. And I'm sure, like you said, it's similar in your area where it's better to kind of go after those move up buyers than just go right to luxury.
Volume is everything in this business. The quicker you can do more deals, the longer you're going to be in this business for, because again, it's an at bat to create a relationship, which is going to multiply in the long run. So I would rather do 30 deals at 200,000 in a year than do 5 deals, at $1 million.
Yep, exactly.
Do the math long term, and I'm going to guarantee you that those 30 deals is going to take you a lot further. And just like you said, the townhouse is a great example, or the condo is a great example of a house that is more likely to turn over in the next 4 or 5 years, because people easily grow out of those.
Yep.
And then they step up to usually something bigger. Yep. And then that $300,000 condo plus that $500,000 purchase is an $800,000 deal.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all volume,
Exactly.
And then on top of that, that's probably more likely, if you're just starting in the business, somebody that you could have more success with, because they don't have an established relationship with a realtor.
Exactly. So I want to go back to the community side of things, because for you, obviously that's something you've kind of made a priority in your business. How do agents do the community, or how have you done the community element without being salesy, without being breathing down your throat? Because I find a lot of agents come to me and ask, they're like, how do I want to do this, but they want to go right to like real estate and try to beat people over the head with it. How do you find that balance, or what does that balance look like for you to let people know you're in real estate without come across as salesy.
Natural conversation. It's going to come up at some point. Somebody, they're going to ask, well, what do you do? Or they're going to get an email from you one day and it's going to have all of your information with what you actually do.
Yeah.
I know what everybody on my board does, and I know moving forward, if I need anything, they're always going to probably be the first people that I call. And a lot of it too is you could have relationships with other people, right? But if you are in contact with those people monthly because you're on a board and you have these meetings or you have these conversations and you're sending these emails, it's a lot easier to approach that person. And the biggest thing I find with realtors is I think everybody assumes that everybody's going to remember you and they're going to remember your name. And I tell my agents this over and over. Your clients will forget your name possibly within a year.
Yeah.
If you don't show back up. Listen, some people have great memories. Some people don't. And if you aren't popping up somehow in their lives, in the emails, on social media, or whatever the case may be, on video somewhere where people can see you, the best way to get a referral is to make sure that nobody forgets your name.
Yeah. There's
times where I know where maybe you're having a conversation with somebody, right? And, I think everybody needs to think of this in a different mindset. You're having a conversation with somebody and there's a need for something and somebody can solve their problem, but you forgot the name of their company and you forgot their name. How likely is it going to be where you're going to chime in and say, oh, I know somebody that can help you, but I forgot their name and I forgot their company.
Yep.
You may not bring that up because, again, you have to think, what is it?
Yeah.
The conversation's gone. The opportunity's gone.
Yep.
Find ways to have them remember you, remember your name, and make sure that they come back to you. I mean, doing a great job is one thing. I know that clients have forgotten my name. I can tell you I've forgotten some of my clients' names.
Yeah.
I'm actually going through the process right now. We're actually doing a client event in 3 weeks. We rented out a bar and we've got 1,500 people coming at least.
Wow.
There could be more. But I had to go through. I've had 600 sales and I'm going through and sometimes and I'm very photogenic where I usually remember the houses and stuff. And I'm finding like I'm forgetting some of these houses. Like, who are these people? And I've got to go to the tax records and say, who was this person that I even sold the house to? I forget over time. Your clients are going to forget you also.
Yeah.
So you've got to remain in contact. And that's part of the reason why we're doing a client event. That's another layer. It's a way to invite your clients to come out. Not everybody's going to come out.
Yep.
But it's a point of contact. Why are you going to reach out to somebody? Maybe you sold the house to 10 years ago. You didn't maintain a relationship. It's an email, it's a text, it doesn't have to be necessarily a phone call, but it's, hey, remember me? How was your realtor? Free event. Come, let's hang out.
Exactly. And I think that's why doing things other than just real estate related things are so important, because they tie that memory to just the real estate transaction. They move in, they're not thinking about real estate, and they put that memory in the back of their mind. And if you can connect with them on different levels, they'll remember you for different reasons. So when you do a community event, they remember you that you gave back to the community or a cause they cared about, and they see you. And a perfect example, my girlfriend, she moved recently and she started a farm. I've been helping her with her farm, and she did a community event, and it was a community garage sale. She's got an email from someone who was participant in the garage sale. And she said, I want to reach out to you. My daughter's moving to the area. She said, there's no one I would rather her work with than you. You're the perfect fit for her. She's barely met this lady. She did a community event and she tied the good feelings to her because of how she made her feel around the event, that she was giving back and she was involved in the community. She's hardly had any sales in the area because she's new to the area, but it was the memory of that event and the memory of that she was giving back to the community. And she now has a buyer who's coming into town from out of town, and her budget's double what our average price point is in our area. And she's super excited and has this connection. It came from an event. If it was just real estate related, I'm sure there's hundreds of agents who have marketed to her and tried to get her to do business with her, but it's that memory. And that's why I think it's so important to layer in your efforts, do the community events, do the client appreciations, do the volunteering, all those things, because that's where you're going to build the real lasting memories and the real connections. And I think that's a big part of what most agents are missing in their business.
1,000%. And listen, if you don't think Zillow and Realtor.com and even Redfin and all these big companies They are after those leads.
Mm.
They're after those opportunities. And guess what? On the backside, somebody's paying 30, 35% to do business potentially with, one of your clients, past clients, or one of the people that could be in your sphere.
Yeah.
And it hurts sometimes too. I've had agents in my office that have gotten leads that came in that are in their CRMs, and it's somebody they did business with. And guess what? Zillow's now sending you that referral, for 30 to 35%. And because you don't have anything maintaining that relationship, you could have lost that money. And it could have been, hey, spending $100 to stay in touch, per year. And listen, as an agent, you should know who your top clients are.
Yeah.
And the people that are referring you are going to be the people that you are more in touch with.
Yep.
Whether it's socially or personally, or maybe they just have commonalities with you. Those are the people you want to spend even more time with.
Yeah.
They're the ones that they'll never forget your name. And that's the reason why I think it's easy for them to give you a referral, because again, you're always going to be top of mind with those people. And it's just expanding the amount of people that you can be top of mind with. And that way, then when that conversation comes up and that opportunity happens, they know right off the top of their head, oh, I have the best person for you. This is their name. I'll send you their number. They have it at their fingertips. It's at the forefront of their brain. And that's why having multiple facets of marketing and advertising out there so that the multitudes can remember your name is so important.
Exactly. That's awesome. So if you were to give our viewers one last piece of advice, if they're thinking about getting started, if they want to get into farming, kind of doing what you're doing, what advice would you give them?
Do the data, do the analysis, take the step back, and what I do with my agents too is goal setting every year. Analyze your business. Find out where your business is coming from, number one, and you can find out where you're successful. Is it in person? Is it over the phone? Whatever. Is it referral? Double down on that stuff. The farm's additional, but take all those deals that you've done and maybe look at doing a farm around all those deals you've already done. Those are already your success points. That's where you've had success, and you can speak of that success to those people and speak about those people or those situations or that transaction. That's important when you're on a listing appointment. But the data is everything. Take some time and reflect. Like I always say, September 1 is the start of the year. You're not starting the year January 1. If you're starting the year in your mindset, January 1, you're already 3 months behind.
Yeah.
You have to start now. You have to start in the fall. This is the time where you look at the bottom part of your business, you find ways to reinvest, you cut things that maybe aren't, giving you good ROI, but doing a farm, I feel, is one of the first layers of the foundation. You're going to be building other layers too at the same time. You have to be strategic in this business if you want to stay around long term. And this is a way where you can almost put it on cruise control. It becomes an autopilot thing if you work with the right company, where literally I just get an email with a proof with all the information. I just have to kind of look through it, boom, approve it, it goes out. There's great companies out there that help you out with doing the farming aspect of it. You don't have to be like me when I first started trying, because I'm a creative and I love marketing and advertising. I felt I had to put it together, and then all of a sudden it's like, I'd be lucky to do 2 a year. Mine go out every single month. And the amount of homes that I go into when they call me in and they have every single piece saved.
Yeah.
There's strategy behind that too, as far as how to get them to save those pieces.
Yeah. That's a whole nother show we could talk about, because that's something I'm passionate about, is keep getting people to hold on to what you do instead of just chucking it in the garbage. So yeah, that's
absolutely
awesome. So if you were to recommend one last book, we do a best book segment. What's one book you'd recommend that's had an impact on your life, or you think would have an impact on our viewers' lives?
So I'm 3/4 of the way through Power of Moments. That's a powerful book, because again, a lot of the stuff that you feel and find, it's like, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's right. But when you flip it around and you realize, and this is almost a confirmation of what I'm already doing, it allows you to double down. So Power of Moments is a great book. It allows you to kind of get a feeling for creating experiences, setting up the right expectations, and creating times for people that are around you that are more memorable and more impactful for them.
Awesome. I haven't heard the book. I will definitely have to check it out, and we'll put it in the show notes for our viewers to check out. And how can our viewers check out what you're up to, connect with you, and find out more a bit about you?
Sure. If you go to justinbosak.com, it's got a bunch of different places to connect with me, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube channels, and things like that.
Awesome. Well, I'll put that in the show notes as well. So Justin, I appreciate you being on the show, sharing your insights and wisdom and experience. I know if our viewers take it into action and apply some of these things we've talked about today, they will definitely have success. So thank you for being on the show and sharing that, because I know they'll get a lot out of that.
No problem. If anybody's listening, feel free to reach out. I'm more than willing to dive a little bit deeper to help you out with your business.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Thanks for checking out today's episode. If you'd like more videos like this, be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out our Facebook page and our other social media channels. Looking forward to bringing you more great content like this, and happy farming.